I was on a gig the other day and I had an interesting thought. There's just so much in the world of guitar that I used to care about that doesn't really matter. And that's just part of the journey of being a human being on this planet. But let me ask you a question. What are some of the things that you used to care about as a guitarist? For me, I thought of 3 major lies that I used to cling to. First, I believed that you needed an expensive, high-end guitar to get great tone.
It costs a lot of money to be cool.
And sure, expensive guitars are awesome. I have a couple that I really love. I've got a Gibson Les Paul, I've got a Gretsch White Falcon, I've got a Fender Telecaster that I've completely customized. But the dirty little secret, okay, well that's pretty dramatic, it's not that dirty of a secret, but what they don't want you to know is that a good cheap guitar can sound every bit as good as an expensive one. If we're talking about the world of electric guitar, then the thing that actually matters in terms of like how good your guitar is gonna sound is the pickups. If you get a good set of pickups, then you're already 70 to 80% of the way there. And look, the diehards are gonna comment about how that's completely wrong and tone wood and the build quality and blah, blah, blah. There's nuance and all that, but when I listen to music, I don't think,
Is that a Epiphone? Helix? Ah, turn that off.
if it sounds good, then that's really all that matters. So here's how to pick a guitar. Whichever guitar sounds good to you, feels good in your hands, and inspires you to play is the guitar you should get. Now, if it's an expensive guitar, then great. If it's a cheap guitar, then that's great too. It's really that simple. And again, I love my Gibson, I love my Gretsch, I love my Fender guitars. But I've also played some pretty sick Squiers and Epiphones. The second lie I clung to relates to something I see a lot of you commenting about across the channel. Can modelers like a Quad Cortex or a Helix sound as good as pedals and amps? I'm not here to argue with the diehards, I'm just here to share the real truth. No one cares except other guitarists. Seriously, I used to be so intense about how I needed to play my guitar through my pedalboard into my boutique amplifier because that was my signature sound and that was why people were hiring me. And it didn't matter how many pedals and amps broke down on tour, how many sound guys asked me to turn down.
That's not allowed. You need to turn down.
I just insisted that pedals and amps was the way it had to be done. And then I got tired of doing all that, so I caved and I tried out an amp pedal and thought it sounded pretty good. And then I got a Quad Cortex and I liked it even more. And guess what? I get the same amount of compliments on my tone. Is it the same? No, it's not the same, but it's pretty darn close. And that's the point I think a lot of you missed in my video, do you even need a pedalboard anymore? If you could have a sweet pedalboard or one of the flagship modelers like a Quad Cortex, a Helix, a Kemper, Axe-Fx, what would you pick? I didn't say there was a right answer, I just said for me, if I was starting from scratch, I would choose a modeler because they sound really good, they're portable, they're flexible, and they're more cost effective. If pedals are better suited to your needs, then great. It really doesn't matter what you use, it just matters how you sound. If you sound good, people don't care, except about volume. You probably will get a comment about volume if you choose to play on an amp.
No, I really think you turned down.
But playing on an amp is an experience. I get it. Right out of college, the only thing I cared about was becoming a pro guitarist and going on tour. While I did eventually achieve those goals, I find that my whole attitude towards music as a career has changed. I was really stoked about where my career was and where it was moving, but on the flip side, I was more mentally exhausted than I had ever been. I've ultimately achieved what I thought would be my dream career, and let me tell you, it doesn't really feel like I thought it would. I'm already sick of music. Roll the clock back to 2015, and I was constantly on Instagram comparing myself to others in the field. Every guitarist was a competitor, and I was constantly assessing whether I could do what those guitarists were doing on Instagram, or if I could do it even better. Can I do that? Oh, I think I can do that. Oh, I could do it better. Wow, their tone sucks. All that would do was lead me down a rabbit hole of despair. Every post of some musician playing on a gig turned into me wondering why wasn't I on that gig, or how do I get on that gig, and feeling like I'm so invaluable because I wasn't playing for some artist you've heard of. I don't know who said it first, but whoever said it is right. Comparison is the thief of joy. Guitar wasn't about the fun of playing or my desire to create, but a competition of who was on the best gig, and whoever was the coolest and had the most value. While I'm definitely not perfect and I still have those moments, I find that the Lord has pulled me out of that way of thinking a bit. I look around and I see so many people caught in that cycle of trying to prove their self-worth by playing for some big artist or being on a trendy gig, and it's just a really sad place to be. So rather than just being another voice in your life telling you not to do music as a career, you're gonna be broke, change your major, don't do music, I'll just say this. If you're gonna do this, then remember the reason why you're getting into this in the first place, and go back to that on the days when you find yourself stuck in the comparison trap. Because believe me, you're gonna have those days. And more importantly, remember that your value doesn't go up or down depending on which gig you have or how many gigs you're on. And for me as a Christian, I have to constantly remind myself that my value is found in Jesus and my identity is found in Jesus, not in what I do for a living. The gig world can be tough, but it can also be amazing and exciting. Navigating those highs and lows gets a lot easier when you stop making your whole life about what gig you're on or what gig you're pursuing. There's a bunch more things we could discuss, but maybe that's a part 2 video down the line. But more importantly, I want to hear from you. What are some of the things you used to care about as a guitarist? Be sure to leave a like on the video before you head out and subscribe to the channel. It really does help it to grow and help the videos get pushed out to more people. And I'll catch you next time. Quality guitar to get great twang.